President Lai Ching-te calls for the nation to raise defense spending, but his latest unity speech falls flat with the opposition. With 2 more recall votes set for August, Taiwan's parties are scrambling to save or oust 24 lawmakers this month. Ahead of his 90th birthday, the Dalai Lama says he will have a successor after he dies, but China says that successor must be approved by Beijing. Plus, what would you do if disaster strikes? An exhibit in Taipei is teaching the public where to go in a worst-case scenario. Good evening and welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Eric Gao. President Lai Ching-te has given another of his so-called unity speeches, this one focusing on national defense. But his appeals to boost military spending reopened a partisan rift, and the speech has not impressed his political rivals. John Van Trieste reports.
President Lai Ching-te gets a round of applause as he takes the stage, but he's preparing to address a nation riven by partisan strife, and where not everyone feels quite so warmly towards him. This is number 4 in a series of 10 speeches Lai is banking on to bring the country together and bridge the divide between his ruling Democratic Progressive Party and the opposition. But the main theme of this speech, defense spending, is a touchy one, part of a broader budget battle in the legislature that has been one of the major political stories of the year so far. Lai says he's alarmed at the scale of investment China's been putting into its military, in part with an eye to take over Taiwan by force if need be.
中国的军事预算增加，没有在看台湾哪一个政党执政，每一年都在增加。特别是在2008到2016年，其中有几年，它的军事预算的增加是2位数。
He says the Chinese military threat now extends far out into the Pacific, past Taiwan, and that Taiwan needs to adapt by raising its own military spending. He hopes a special $14 billion budget the cabinet has prepared will help fill in the spending gap, while also helping civilians' daily lives.
每一个人花1万块钱，还是要拿1500亿来做国防韧性，另外再加200亿到1000亿嘛，来补助台电，让台电不要涨价。
But Lai said the opposition bloc in the legislature made historic cuts to the budget and froze much of it earlier in the year, a political sore point with the opposition. Already, they've hit back at the speech. The smaller opposition Taiwan People's Party says most of the budget is unfrozen, so that is a moot point. And the main opposition party, the Kuomintang, says the defense budget is already at a historic high. One prominent critic of the speech says it was a political ploy, as 24 KMT lawmakers face being recalled. He says the speech undermined Lai's stated goal of achieving unity and was actually divisive.
想要在这个7月26号大罢免之前，投票之前呢，要把它讲完，希望能够鼓动这个去罢免的这样的情绪了，所以他其实前这4讲的所谓叫做团结国家，我没有一讲是真的团结的。 他每一讲就造成更大的分裂。
Lai still has 6 speeches to go in his planned series, but it seems they may not be hitting the notes he'd hoped for with some of the political groups he wants to persuade. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's election authorities have announced that 2 more recall petitions against opposition Kuomintang lawmakers will advance to a public vote. Both votes will take place on August 23rd, the same day as a planned referendum on restarting the country's Ma'an-san nuclear power plant. They're just the latest in a string of petitions targeting KMT lawmakers that have gathered enough signatures to move forward. Recall votes have already been scheduled for 24 other KMT lawmakers on July 26th. With more opposition lawmakers now facing recalls this summer, Taiwan's 2 main parties are rallying supporters to show up at the polls. Tifty Wang reports.
Supporters of Kuomintang caucus whip Fu Kunqi rally in the party's stronghold of Hualien on Taiwan's east coast. Fu is one of 24 lawmakers from Taiwan's main opposition party that may have their terms cut short as they face a recall vote on July 26th.
我们绝对不是傻子，对不对？对。我们是总统的头家，对不对？花莲守得住，台湾就有救。
The opposition party needs to keep as many seats in the legislature as possible to prevent the ruling Democratic Progressive Party from tipping the balance of power in a by-election. Currently, opposition parties hold the legislature by a margin of 11 seats.
大家有听过罢免，没听过大罢免。什么叫大罢免？就是无差别待遇了。只要是你是反对的。 你只要是国民党的区域立委，我都要把你罢免。
But the KMT's own campaigns to remove ruling DPP lawmakers have fallen through one by one, and several are now at the center of investigations into alleged signature fraud.
八方支援，挺欧巴！八方支援，挺欧巴！
Meanwhile, recall campaigners are rounding up voters who must cast their ballots in person at their registered districts on voting day. The campaigns and the DPP are looking to get more votes in favor of removal than against.
不方便或者是不敢签联署书的，在投票的阶段，你不用害怕，因为没有人会知道你投了什么票。
Which side can get more supporters in the voting booth could bring a political shakeup like the country has never seen before. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is seeing a spike in Chinese military activity as the country prepares to hold its largest annual exercises. The Defense Ministry says it spotted 53 Chinese military aircraft and 8 naval vessels operating near the country in the 24 hours up to Wednesday morning. 37 of those aircraft entered Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. This area is not Taiwan's airspace, but acts as a buffer zone for defensive purposes. Taiwan says it's monitoring the situation as it gears up for its annual Hangguang military exercises, set to be the biggest ever. And for the first time, a Chinese tank landing ship was reportedly spotted off the coast of Keelung in northern Taiwan. A traveler flying from Shanghai to Taipei snapped a photo of the vessel last Friday, just 50 to 60 nautical miles off Taiwan's main island. It was identified as a Type 072A landing ship used by China's military for amphibious operations and transporting supplies. It can carry hundreds of troops and up to 10 tanks. Taiwan's Navy says it closely monitored the vessel's movements.
那我们也密切掌握它的动态，不管它是实施了是不是相关的一个有关相关海域的一个重点的一个侦查。 航道熟悉，或是有没有协同其他兵力来做一个协同，那这个都在我们一个征收掌握的范围，并适切的应处。
These ships are usually seen in waters off Taiwan's east. The foreign ministers of Quad member states have pledged to strengthen cooperation to address challenges in the Indo-Pacific amid concerns over China's growing power. The U.S., Japan, India, and Australia released a joint statement following talks in Washington, D.C., promising to deepen cooperation on enforcing maritime law and on securing critical minerals, among other things. They also said they were seriously concerned about the situation in the South China Sea. China has built artificial islands and military installations to reinforce its territorial claims there. The Dalai Lama has announced that he will be reincarnated, ending speculation over whether there would be a successor. The announcement was made at a large gathering of monks and other followers in Dharamshala, India. It comes just ahead of the Tibetan spiritual leader's 90th birthday on Sunday. China rules Tibet and views the Dalai Lama as a separatist. Beijing says it will name his successor, but he says only his organization has the right to identify the next Dalai Lama. Australia remains the top destination for Taiwanese youth for a working holiday. And in 2025, the number of people making the trip is set to be back on par with pre-COVID levels. Lauren Padmore sees why thousands of people are going down under and how they come back changed.
Alan Gian is heading to work in his Australia-themed cafe in Taipei, inspired by the 3 years he spent on a working holiday there. His experience in Australia opened up doors to continue exchanges and make connections.
像现在，像开店以后，还蛮多外国人来的，你其实就可以跟他们对话。那可能去澳洲之前，我这些 conversation 我可能完全没办法。
In just over 10 years, more than 110,000 Taiwanese have made the trip to Australia under this program, which allows them to live, travel, and take short-term jobs while exploring the country. One of these people is Mike Shi.
Because I was a police officer in Taiwan, so I will say I don't like the environment, so I quit.
He arrived in November 2023, working in designer clothing after 7 years in the police force in Taipei. He says he picked Australia because of its reputation of being simple to obtain a visa, the higher pay on offer, and the country's popularity among Taiwanese. He's extended his 1-year visa to add another year and wants to travel elsewhere afterward.
I think my learning is just, if you want to do something, just go for it. And if you don't try, you never know.
For Ray Lai from Jiayi in southern Taiwan and now living in Taipei, the hardest part of her 2 years away was coming home. Back in 2019, she remembers life there feeling easier and being less stressed.
So it's kind of feel like if you're willing to work hard, and then you will get a certain amount of money that can provide you with like a lifestyle that you want.
Ray mainly worked in a meat factory in the rural town of Gundagai, population 1,700, but also explored the country's landscapes, ticking off major cities. Her time overseas made her see things differently.
Your job doesn't represent you as a person, but I think that is something that I slowly learned after I was like in Australia and until now. And I think that is a very valuable experience that is kind of hard for people maybe never leave Taiwan to understand.
But the working holiday isn't always a dream. Mike and Ray did shifts on blueberry farms briefly where the pay was low and work laborious. In recent years, unions in Australia have called for a government inquiry into underpayment and poor working conditions on these farms. Last year, Taiwan's representative office in Brisbane also warned of rising scams targeting young Taiwanese in the country. One tourist went temporarily missing after one scam. Despite these challenges, Australia remains a popular destination for working holidaymakers. Experts have been speaking to me, saying returnees act as informal ambassadors, bringing back language skills and cultural insights. The people-to-people ties are deepened, creating a soft power between the two countries. It's a vision Alan shares.
之后的话，可能觉得可能会再办，像前阵子有办一些澳洲的讲座活动，对，那我觉得主要就是以澳洲为主嘛，所以之后的话可能也会继续办活动啊。
From making coffee to working in factories, the working holiday experience gave Mike, Ray and Alan more than just a paycheck. It brought new perspectives. Despite hardships, for many Taiwanese, Australia is a place for more opportunities to see the world and make meaningful connections. Chris Ma, Jeffrey Chen and Lauren Padamore for TaiwanPlus.
And coming up after the break, more than 360,000 people stand to benefit as the government considers mental health days for civil servants.
Even though I grew up in the U.S., we came back regularly for either a week or 2 weeks, and I know I didn't grow up in Taiwan, but it felt like I did at times. I used to go down to Ren'ai to play basketball with some of the kids. I shadowed a little bit.
I mean, I've always taken pride of being mixed, being half Chinese, half American, and always visiting Taiwan when I was younger, since I was young, because we have so much family here, I have so many friends here. I love Taiwan, and especially since we started playing basketball here a few years ago, there's so many fans, we have so much support from everyone, and all the fellow basketball lovers here, so I love Taiwan. Taiwan's just another home away from home.
那我们球场见。Game on Taiwan, where the action lives.
Start your weekend with a cup of coffee and a moment to reflect on what happened this week.
Hello and welcome.
We've got you covered, from defense and politics to high tech and the arts.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
You make the coffee,
we make the
news. Here's what happened on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Taiwan is promoting national unity this month to help coordinate military and civilian efforts in a disaster or a conflict. Our reporter Sandy Chi visited an exhibition in Taipei to find out how to prepare for an air raid.
An exhibition in Taipei is asking residents to prepare for something most would rather not think about. As part of National Unity Month in July, this air raid preparation exhibition is designed to teach people that the country's defense is not the sole responsibility of the military.
国家团结业对国人跟国家来讲都是极端的重要的，因此我们要一步一步的朝向更安全的国家、更安全的社会，保障更多的人民，保障更多的财产，这个目标来前进。
Taiwan faces both environmental and geopolitical threats, from earthquakes and typhoons to the growing risk of conflict with China. Beijing has never ruled out using force to take Taiwan, and Chinese President Xi Jinping has reportedly instructed his military to be ready for an invasion by 2027. In response, the government is working to raise public awareness of air defense shelters, where they are and how to use them, as part of broader efforts to prepare for emergencies.
当你听到防空避难的这样的警报的时候，就表示说要准备进入这个避难设施。我们已经盘点出有高达82000个，不管是公营的机构，或是公家机关，或者是这个大楼里面的这个防空避难设施呢，现在可以容受的人数呢是5000多万，等于是说台湾的人口的2点多倍。
Exhibit organizers say it may not simply be a matter of seeking shelter. Preparing for an air raid means packing for an eventuality. On display here are items you'll need in a disaster or during war. They include the basics such as water and first aid supplies. You'll also need sturdy shoes to guard against broken glass and a helmet to protect your head. You'll also need things that are less obvious, such as radios and walkie-talkies. These can help you stay in touch with your loved ones in case satellite links go down. While the exhibition will only run through the rest of July, the government hopes its lessons will keep the public safe for years to come. Fua Hong and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. President Donald Trump says Israel has agreed to terms for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza. Posting on his Truth Social platform, Trump said U.S. and Israeli officials had agreed to the plan and that Qatar and Egypt would present it to Hamas. Trump said Hamas should take the deal and that terms would only get worse if they reject it. Israel has not yet confirmed Trump's post, and there was no immediate comment from Hamas. The Trump administration is halting some arms shipments to Ukraine as U.S. weapons stockpiles dwindle. This comes after U.S. President Trump hinted at sending more arms to Ukraine after meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, at a NATO summit last week. It's a setback for Ukraine as it continues to fight off Russia's invasion, now in its third year. The U.S. has provided Ukraine with $66 billion worth of weapons since 2022. Taiwan's government is exploring ways to support employee mental health. If approved, new rules would give the country's 360,000 civil servants 3 mental wellness days each year. Irene Lin reports.
Sitting at a desk all day staring at a screen, the daily grind can take its toll. That's why Taiwan's government is mulling paid mental health leave for office workers, starting with the country's over 360,000 civil servants, clerical workers, and administrative staff.
这个法条的适用对象就是一般政府机关文职的公务人员啦。这目前还不包括事业机构跟那个军人武职那一块，我也不敢跟你保证这个什么时候了。不过应该今年内 不会有问题吧。
The draft would provide 3 additional mental health days on top of 7 days of personal leave already available. Leave could be taken by the hour, and employers would not be allowed to deny requests or let it affect performance reviews. Still, some say more needs to be done to truly address employee mental health and streamline the system.
全世界价别最复杂的就是中华民国的公务员。其实我最大可不必，要做的是改善公务员的那个压力，或是所谓行政流程上的那个顺利。那公务机关它必须有一些咨商的机制来辅导。
A government survey shows that nearly 9% of people aged 15 and over show signs of moderate to severe depression in Taiwan. Yet treatment rates remain low despite over an estimated 1 million cases nationwide. Since August 2024, high school and university students have been entitled to 3 mental health days per semester. By contrast, many teachers don't receive anything like the same benefit. There's no nationwide policy across all school levels, and only a few cities and counties offer paid mental health leave.
老师的压力也是蛮大的。我们要担任老师，要做好各方面专业的准备，不管是教学、辅导管教、班级经营、亲师沟通等等之类的。政府给学校老师有这样子的一个价别，我想是一个非常正向的。
Many hope the change in regulations will give civil servants the time they need to care for their mental health, and give Taiwanese society the space to have open conversations about it, paving the way for a better, healthier work environment across all industries. Andy Xue and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's east coast has been a major source of jade since prehistoric times. And while the boom days are long gone, one village there has visitors learning to appreciate this precious commodity in a hands-on way. John Van Trieste reports.
For more than 50 years, Jiang Jinyuan has been cutting, carving, sanding, and polishing the special jade from the mountains near his home in eastern Taiwan. He's part of a tradition that goes back to the area's prehistory. And despite the collapse of his hometown's trade in the precious gemstone, his workshop has managed to hold on. Now, an exhibit showing off the story of Jiang and his neighbors in a place that's still proud to be Taiwan's jade capital. It's the black dots against a deep green that are the telltale sign of Fengtian jade, named for Fengtian village in Hualien County. Zinc, chromium, and iron mixed into the rock give it its special spotted look. And while only rediscovered and named after a 1956 survey, it's been prized for a very long time. Fengtian jade artifacts have shown up at more than 100 prehistoric sites across Taiwan, and it's even been dug up abroad, hinting at the flow of ancient trade.
丰田玉没有到日本，那丰田玉也没有到福建、广东，就是到越南、菲律宾或是婆罗洲。
But it was in the 1960s, shortly after the geologists found it, that the area saw a true jade boom. Those who remember it say everyone wanted a piece of Fengtian jade, even in places where it had once been unknown.
我小日本啊，不管大理石也好，丰田玉也好，伊甲这石头相关的哦，迄当的是发展咱这个产业蓬勃发展。
And by coincidence, a ready labor force was already on the ground, ready to feed the jade market. The government had just given farmland in the area to retired military men who'd fled to Taiwan from China after the civil war there. But the area wasn't fertile, and farming was a bust. The whine of polishing machines grinding on stone soon filled local streets as jade finishing workshops multiplied. Industry veteran Jiang Jinyuan remembers.
80间左右，拢从事台湾玉加工的行业，大部分都是小家庭的加工业了。哦，大家做的外销。
By 1975, up to 90% of the world's jade was coming from these few workshops in rural eastern Taiwan. Though some miners would steal jade and sell it on the black market, the industry kept going from strength to strength, until very suddenly, the whole thing vanished. Taiwan's economy stumbled amid global oil shocks, and jade from other places, Siberia and Canada, proved to be what the market wanted, leaving Fengtian's jade products unsold. But there are survivors, those who've learned to adapt, like Jiang Jinyuan.
没落了就一间一间的结束。我们是经过几十年一个产业，我们是一直撑到最后，来转型做 DIY。若无转型，阮的产业就爱流失掉啊。
Today, like the rest of Hualien County, Fengtian is a tourism powerhouse, a place where city dwellers come to recharge amid the clean mountain air and green landscape. Here, hunting for the perfect piece of jade in the area's fast-flowing streams makes for a pleasant afternoon. And plenty of visitors discover the joys of making their own jade ornaments too, as once professional workshops open their doors to those looking for a unique DIY experience. The days of mass export may be past, but Fengtian is still in love with its jade. And the many who pass through each year come away loving it too. From prehistoric trade good to modern tourist attraction, Fengtian jade has played many roles over time. But it's always tightly linked to this special corner of Taiwan and the people who call it home. Alex Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
And thanks for joining us here for TaiwanPlus News. Visit our website to get more of our news reports or grab our app to get updates on your mobile device. Finally, check out this performance in Chile featuring sea creatures made from recycled plastic to raise awareness about ocean conservation. I'm Eric Gao. See you back here on What's Up Taiwan.